Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our call, which we have titled Spotlight on Charleston, South Carolina. Tonight, we're going to dive into why we love to buy real estate there. I'm Hilary Graves, and I'm here with my co host, Ian Schmidt. Some of you
Hello.
may know. He is of Mapleton Capital Group, and I'm with Brightstown Investments, and we are honored to be joined by our friend and lead sponsor deal partner, Jonathan Wells of Lake City Equity. How's it going, John?
Hello. Good. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, our pleasure. And to be honest, Ian and Jonathan really are the Charleston experts on this call because they don't just do deals there, but they actually live there and they have an intimate knowledge of the goings on in that market. I'm up here in Pennsylvania, but I do invest in Charleston happily. Maybe someday I'll live there. We talk about it a lot. I think plenty of folks intuitively know or would tell you that Charleston is a great place to own real estate, just because the price of houses have appreciated so much in the last several years. Anyone who has been following the price of real estate knows that the East, the Southeast especially, and especially Charleston, just the prices of houses have been ridiculous if you're looking to buy. But tonight we really want to talk about why that is and why that's kind of expected to continue, and why multifamily real estate in particular, when bought correctly, I should say, tends to do really well there. It's certainly not just a desirable place to live, although that it is, but we have so many things that we factor in to what makes a great place to buy real estate. Here, actually, is some real estate that between all of us, what we own in Charleston, but really more reliably than just like getting a good feeling for the neighborhood or just saying like that's a place that people like to live or that I like to live. It really comes down to math in a lot of ways. And that's something we want to get across this evening, really, is that we're looking at a lot of numbers and statistics when we look at what makes a location such a great location to buy real estate. Particularly, I'm talking about population. I'm talking about the number of rental units available in an area, the number of jobs and employers in an area. We're looking at the average income of folks that live there so that we know exactly what they can afford. And we're looking at the market rent and especially how that number relates to the cost of buying a house in that area. And the bigger that gap, the better. I'm going to pass it over to John Wells, who's going to jump in with our quick glance.
Thank you, Hillary. Super excited to be here. Really appreciate the invite. Hopefully, I can add some value to y'all here. Just a little background on me. My wife Sam and I are full-time real estate investors. We are partnered up with our main partner is David Igowitz. We call him Iggy. Our company is called Lake City Equity. We have been fortunate enough to partner with Ian and Hillary as well on several deals and just have a wonderful partnership with them. So my wife, Sam, she finds all our deals. She is the director of acquisitions. Her deal flow is incredible. If there's a deal that comes across the table, more than likely she has seen it before. She just creates incredible relationships with brokers all across the nation. I'm the CEO of Lake City Equity, so we are vertically integrated. Which means we only manage our own assets. So we have currently 15 assets, 1,250 doors that inside Lake City Equity only, 1,250 doors, 200 million assets under management. And like I said, our main partner is David Igowitz, Iggy. He's in charge of marketing, and he is also incredible underwriter and just a great guy to know all around. So, like Hillary mentioned, the market is paramount to everything. And we buy the market first. We're looking for several things. One, we like to see a MSA population size of at least 100,000, and we like to see population growth of 20% or higher. We want to see median household income relatively high. We want to see housing prices high because that's what essentially keeps people from the ability to afford a house or to have to rent. So if housing prices are high, more than likely the rental market's going to be pretty strong. Um, so what else? Population growth, median household income, home prices, job growth. So typically when you see population growth, they go hand in hand with job growth. And what's really interesting is like these markets, everyone knows Charleston, South Carolina is an incredible market. Most of our assets are either in Charleston or Savannah, Georgia. Most of our portfolio is actually in Savannah, Georgia. We also have assets in Augusta and Statesboro in Georgia. So everyone knows Charleston and Savannah are incredible markets, huge amount of growth, job-wise and population-wise. Just all the metrics look fantastic. But real estate is hyper local. So even in Charleston, even in Savannah, there are places you don't want to buy. And you really, really need to know the market rather than, I've seen people go, oh, there's a deal in Charleston, and show up at due diligence and it's between two trailer parks and really bad assumptions, and you don't really have your pulse. Charleston is good, but you don't know, like, this across the street could be completely different than the other side of the street. So you have to really be careful there, and in my opinion, you need some sort of unfair advantage as far as knowing the demographics and knowing the geography of the local market, not just putting your money into a deal that the city as a whole is really good, but you don't necessarily know the neighborhood. So anyway, I just want to hammer that point home. Um, so yeah, Charleston is, like this slide says, I mean, checks all the boxes. Everyone wants to buy a deal in Charleston, it seems like. My background before, well, as I was building our portfolio about a decade ago, I was a real estate residential agent. So that helps knowing the market a lot. And I've been all over this market, and so is Ian. Ian's also an agent still currently as well. Charleston hits all kinds of awards every year. I think that Condé Nast Award has been won like a decade in a row, but there's a massive amount of activity around here, incredible food. There is an amazing tourist industry. People come from all over the world. It's not uncommon to walk downtown and you hear people speaking different languages. Um, and it is destination wedding location, bachelorette parties, etc. And it's a great place to raise kids. So incredible schools. It's a beach town, tons of shipping. There's a ton of other industries not necessarily related to that. There's Mercedes has a huge plant here, Bosch, Boeing, massive plant, Volvo, enormous, like absolutely massive, massive, massive plant out in Ridgeville, which is just past Somerville, and more industry coming. Blackballed, Benefit Focus. Ian could probably name some more, but that's what I know off the top of my head. Anyway, what I miss, Ian? Anything you want to speak on that?
Sure, I got a few more trinkets for you, Johnny Wells. Most recently, they made an announcement that they're going to be building an EV battery manufacturing facility about in Ridgeville, which is about 35 miles from Charleston. The first round of hiring there is going to be 650 employees. Um,
Wow.
yeah, to name a few. Yeah, there are four international boat manufacturers that have actually set up shop in Ridgeville as well. And yeah, I'm gonna do a little bit of a slightly deeper dive on those
Okay.
in my slides.
this is a landlord-friendly state. That's incredibly important, and also low taxes. We get a lot of transplants from up north. If you look at the map of where everyone's going, this probably isn't news to anyone, but most of the Northeast is coming south. Um, the Midwest and the West either are going into the Southeast or the Southwest, but mostly the Southeast. So it is a great market to be in for sure. Good to have some wind behind your sails, as they say. So yeah, this just outlines a little bit more of what I was talking about. Economic growth, absolutely massive. I did mention it's a port city, deep port. We do have cruise ships come through. We do have humongous container ships. We also have the manufacturers drop off a ton of cars here and they get shipped all over the US. Walmart distribution has a place out in Ridgeville as well. So they sort of bring all the freight in by boat. It gets hauled over to the distribution center just out of town, probably about 20 miles away, and they go throughout the United States or the Southeast from here. So 33 new residents moving to Charleston every day. It's incredible. So there is not enough housing. There is not enough lanes in the roads either, unfortunately. We do have a little bit of traffic, but it's laughable when you compare it to people that really do have traffic, like LA and whatnot. It's not real traffic, but compared to the locals, they want people to stop moving here. And no one really is from here. I'd say 9 out of 10 people are not from Charleston either anymore. So it is sort of a melting pot of the nation.
I guess I just want to start out by saying this is my 20th year living in this market. I moved here from out west in 2004, and it's really been wild, the transition. So I spend about half my time helping Hilary and John and a few others on their team pursuing multifamily assets. And then I guess for the last 7 years, I've spent about 60 hours a week as a listing agent for a residential builder in the Charleston market as well. And it's really wild. If I had to sort of pinpoint one change, when I got here in 2004, it was a tourist town. It was a logistics town because you did have the port. It was a college town, and what really began the shift during my time here was in 2007, right before the recession, Boeing said they were coming. And that really was the beginning of so many other companies following suit. It's very interesting. South Carolina is no stranger to foreign direct investment or domestic investment. And in 1998, when BMW set up shop in Greenville, which is a couple hundred miles away in the northern part of the state, over the next decade, you had 100, and I think it's 122 companies from Germany set up operations within a 10-mile radius of the BMW manufacturing facility. So you can relate that to Boeing setting up shop here in 2007, and it spawned an economic growth really unlike anything we had seen. So it was a pretty wild sequence of events. '07, Boeing shows up. We then hit, worldwide economic meltdown, and Charleston bounced back so much faster than most other markets. John nailed it. Real estate is a local phenomenon. You can pay attention to the national headlines all you want, but what we really do when we're pursuing assets is we're buying the market first. I've said it on calls before and I'll say it again. Real estate means nothing without the people, right? So when you had an influx like we've had, it just creates this tailwind. It's multiple layers of protection and appreciation when you've got job growth like this. So, here's on this slide, there are a couple of the major players, but It's funny. I mean, I have spent, I think 5 of the last 7 years, I've been in a suburb of Charleston. It's about 25 miles away. I mean, I'll give you an example. In the last week in my office, I've had a couple from Dubai. He was an engineer at Boeing walk through the door, and he's trying to buy a $750,000 home. I had somebody else on Zoom who's never been to the state of South Carolina. They're living in China. They are going to be purchasing a single family home at about the same price point, knocking on the door of 700,000. And then I've had 13 folks walk through the door either from New York, Connecticut, or New Jersey. And we are in the slow season for residential real estate. And so a lot of people coming here from a lot of different sectors. The port has been, I mean, I remember when they announced this, I think I heard about it in 2021, but over $500 million was spent to deepen the harbor. Um, so I believe we're sort of neck and neck with Savannah. Savannah's a little bit larger, but that was always a major part of Charleston economy. But now you go down and I mean, it's being utilized for anybody that's in need of logistics from any of those other companies, but even BMW that I mentioned, that's, 300 miles to the north, they're actually bringing their completed vehicles down via railway, and they're actually departing from the Charleston harbor. So it is a major part of our economy, and knocking on the door, it's going to grow to almost 250,000 jobs by 2025. I feel like even nationally, we've seen so many headlines regarding, the short supply of residential housing, right? But you definitely could have predicted the demand. And, when I was selling new construction homes in 2021 and 2022, we knew that there was going to be a lot of spillover and demand for apartments, and people are going to need a place to live, and not everybody's going to be able to afford to purchase. What has created a really interesting phenomenon is that's still true today, even with rates where they are. So, just looking back to May of this year, we really only have about a 2 month supply in our residential real estate listings. And I see it daily where folks are moving here from other markets. They're moving here for jobs and they cannot afford to buy real estate in this city. So there is a huge demand for housing on a grand scale. And I don't, it's not something I see occasionally. It's not something I see once a week. I see it every single day when I'm sitting on site. My two neighborhoods, our average price points are pretty in line with the average of the United States. So you're looking at about $420,000 for a detached single family residence in the lower 48 states right now. And just outside Charleston, that's where we are. And then when you get into Charleston County, it actually, I mean, trailing the last couple quarters goes up to in the 600,000s. And so there are a lot of folks moving here for jobs. And even with 7% interest rates, there's just not enough housing for everybody. So those folks are, renting for 1, 2, 3 years. And so many of the workforce, such a large percentage are contract workers. So they're not going to buy housing anyway. So it's really created, tremendous opportunity. Like I said, I'm residential by day and commercial by nights and weekends, just because the demand is there across the board. So it's a really, really strong tailwind and still very much in demand.
You see me zooming in?
No,
Okay. All right.
I'm sharing my screen, so I'll zoom in. How about that?
Okay. So you got the peninsula right where it says Charleston, right there in the middle. That's your downtown location. Uh, that main road 17 goes right through the middle is Midtown. So below that, the farther south or southeast that you go, the more expensive and older it gets. There's actually an original fort in Charleston still there that they're uncovering bit by bit. But Charleston is I mean, it is it's a very significant city when it came to the Revolutionary War and the Civil War. Fort Sumter is right outside there in the harbor. To the right, it says Mount Pleasant. That's where I live, and we have a couple deals there. It's ideal place to raise kids. They call it Mount Plastic. It is absolutely just like a perfect place, like it checks all the boxes. It is it's kind of strange. It's like you're living in a movie sometimes, but like Truman Show. Um, close to the beach, great people, great food, 10 minutes to downtown. I think right in that intersection, right above where it says Mount Pleasant, within a couple miles, there's like six Starbucks. There's a Trader Joe's, there's a Whole Foods, all the big names. What's that Chinese place? The PF Chang's, they only put those in nice places, right? So, um, Sullivan's Island, just below that, that's extremely expensive, the most expensive beach to be on. Isle of Palms, more resorty. We spent just 2 weeks out there this month with the kids, hanging out. Below you have James Island and Folly Beach. So I would say these are all B areas. Mount Pleasant, I would call an A area. And then Johns Island, again, B area. West Ashley, right above that. B area, and then North Charleston, there's a lot of industry right there, and that takes you all the way up to Somerville, which is an incredible, affordable tertiary market that I would highly, highly recommend buying in if you can find a good deal there. That's where everyone that wants to move to Charleston pretty much moves now because it's affordable and it is a nice place to live. Ian, where do you live in? You have a couple houses, one in Park Circle and
Yeah, one in North Charleston and one in West Ashley. And I feel like I live in Somerville and I work in a model home up there. And that's really where the growth is. The saying, drive till you can afford it. And so much of, I mean, waterfront coastal town, but you can see just from the map, there's so much, unbuildable space as you get inland. So, a lot of these major national and international companies that have set up shop have gone out the way of, 30, 40 miles outside of the city center, which has really, spawned this massive demand for housing.
so anyway, I just wanted to show you that, kind of give you a visual of it's a unique city. If you've never been here, it's like no other city. It is not cookie cutter America city. It is completely different. The history downtown, there's buildings from, 1700s still up. Uh, Big historical town. And then West Ashley is where we own another deal. So we have a couple in Mount Pleasant and one in West Ashley right now. So thanks for showing that.
Absolutely. Yeah, and this is our last slide, but I just think it's cool. You guys are in such a unique position to be boots on the ground, as we call it, to really see the demand and the desire that people have to be there, whether it's for a job that they need to live there, or they just want to be there. And like you said, not everybody can afford to buy a house in that area. Some of them go to North Charleston, but a lot of people want to be closer to downtown Charleston and they need to rent. So, it feels good to be able to provide some affordable housing to those folks, and feels great to be investing in this market altogether. So, thank you so much for sharing that, you guys. we're gonna wrap it up here, short and sweet. But thanks to all of you who invest with us too. It's a pleasure and an honor to invest in Charleston. We had a call like this with Savannah, which we feel like is the sister city in many ways from a real estate perspective. And it's only 2 hours away, but wonderful cities to invest in, and just an honor to share about Charleston, South Carolina. And maybe someday I'll move there. Maybe I'll be your neighbor someday.
Come on down. We know a place you can rent.
Oh yeah, I know a couple places. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining us, and we'll see you on the next one. Have a good one.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.